My name is Nathan. I'm 42 years old, and if you asked anyone on my street, they'd tell you I had a pretty good life. 2 stories, a trimmed lawn, rain gutters that stayed clean year-round, a garage with tools lined up like soldiers, a new water heater, a working thermostat, the kind of house where the porch light came on automatically at dusk, and the trash bins rolled out like clockwork every Monday morning. But none of them knew the truth. They didn't see the quiet ways a man disappears in his own home, the slow erasure, 1,000 little cuts, each one forgivable on its own. They didn't hear the silence that followed me from room to room, like an echo that never quite answers back. They didn't see how a stepfather becomes a ghost, not through anger, not through cruelty, but through indifference, through absence dressed up as normal. I married Megan 5 years ago. She was kind once, or maybe just relieved. Her ex had left her with a teenage boy, mounting debt, and a house she couldn't afford on her salary alone. I was stability, a man with steady hands and a savings account. I stepped in quietly, paid off her credit cards, replaced the brakes on her car, made dinner when she worked late, took Kyle, her son, to his first job interview, taught him how to file his taxes. I never forced closeness, never demanded love, just showed up. That was my mistake, because showing up doesn't earn you a place, not in a house that never made room for you. Kyle was 13 when I met him, already bitter, already loyal to the man who visited twice a year with AirPods and empty promises. Todd, the ghost father, the seasonal mirage who always had just enough charm to stay mythic, but never enough responsibility to stay grounded. He'd show up in a rental car and leave before the gas tank ran dry. And Kyle? Kyle drank it in like holy water. I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't here to replace anyone. I just wanted to be solid, predictable. I wanted to be the man who stayed. But over the years, Kyle sharpened. He learned how to wield silence like a weapon. Every time I offered advice, he rolled his eyes. Every time I fixed something, he muttered that Dad would have done it differently. Every Christmas, he asked if Todd would be coming. Every birthday, he reminded me, casually, not to sign the card, Dad. I took it, all of it. I told myself, he's a kid. He's lost. He doesn't know what he's doing. Just wait. Just endure. Love will catch up. But it didn't. And Megan, she never stopped him. She said it wasn't her place to interfere. He needs time, she said. You're the adult. That's the line that always kills me. You're the adult. Like being older means you're required to be the punching bag. Like years of sacrifice automatically make you immune to disappointment. The final crack came on a Wednesday evening. Rain on the roof, soft and steady. I just finished unloading groceries, all paid for, as usual, from my account. The fridge was stocked, the pantry full. I came through the garage tired, my work boots still caked with mud from the site. Kyle was in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone. He didn't look up. As I stepped in, I said, "Hey, if you're going to leave the door open at least." He cut me off. "Stop talking like this is your house." I froze, thought maybe I misheard. He looked up then, eyes flat, voice steady. "You're just a guest here. Act like one." The silence that followed felt like a vacuum, like the air had been sucked out of the room. I looked past him to Megan sitting on the couch. She didn't turn around, didn't flinch, didn't say a single word. That was the moment. Not what Kyle said, but what Megan didn't. No defense, no correction, no pushback, just silence. I walked past them both, up the stairs, and into the bedroom that held my dresser, my clothes, my receipts from every damn utility bill in the last 5 years. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall for what felt like hours. The next morning, I began the undoing. I started with the garage, took the remote out of Kyle's car while he slept, changed the code, disabled the app on his phone. No announcement, no drama. Then I disconnected the Wi-Fi, changed the password, unplugged the mesh extenders in every room. I logged into every shared subscription, Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify. Removed every device except mine. Then I opened the lease agreement. The landlord and I had a good relationship. I explained calmly that I wanted the contract rewritten in Megan's name only. I signed off and let it go. The final step was the bank. We had a joint account for shared expenses, groceries, emergencies, small bills. I redirected my paycheck into a new account. Left just enough in the joint to cover my half for the next 2 weeks. That was it. No speech. No confrontation. Just subtraction. It took less than 24 hours for them to notice. Kyle missed his class. He texted Megan, asking why the garage wouldn't open. Megan tried to print a report for work. No signal. Kyle shouted from his room that the Wi-Fi was down. They both assumed it was a glitch. At dinner, they waited for me to cook. I didn't. They ate cereal. 2 days later, Megan opened the bank app. I watched her face shift. Confusion first, then concern. She didn't say anything until the next morning. "Hey," she said over coffee, her tone light, rehearsed. "Did something happen with your direct deposit?" I looked her in the eye. "No," I said. "I just moved it. I'm covering my half privately now." She blinked. "Why?" I set the mug down. "Because Kyle said I'm a guest here, so I'm acting like one." She didn't respond, just stared into her cup like it could explain me. And that's when it started sinking in. The difference between presence and dependence. They didn't feel it at first. Kyle still walked the halls like he owned them. Megan still left dishes in the sink like someone else would come behind her. At night, the house felt the same. The same hum of the refrigerator, the same creak in the hallway floorboard. But underneath it all, a quiet unraveling had begun. And I was the only one who heard it. Because I knew what was coming. A week after Kyle called me a guest in my own home, I sat at the dining room table with a legal pad and a pen. No phone, no laptop, just ink, paper, and silence. And I made a list. It wasn't a petty list. Not a revenge tally. It was a reckoning. A cold inventory of every gear I turned in that household. Every invisible task. Every routine I carried without praise, without notice. I wrote the first word slowly, at the top of the page. Cooking. Then came the rest. Grocery shopping. Meal planning. Grill maintenance. Dishwasher cycles. Taking the bins out. Paying the electric bill. Paying the internet bill. Changing air filters. Fixing the toilet when it runs. Booking oil changes. Paying Megan's car insurance. Filling her tank every Sunday. Mowing the lawn. Edge trimming. Raking leaves. Shoveling snow. Patching drywall. Unclogging the gutters. Resealing the deck. Resetting the router when it goes down. Renewing the car tabs. Managing Kyle's dental plan. Paying for prescriptions. Tuning the furnace. Buying new smoke alarm batteries every April. I didn't stop until the second page was full. Then I drew a line down the center of the sheet and wrote one question next to each task. What happens if I stop? And then I did. Not loudly. Not vindicatively. Just stopped. No announcements. No post-it notes. No sarcastic comments. Just absence. The first thing to break was the sink. Started with a slow drip. One Kyle ignored. One Megan rolled her eyes at. I used to fix things like that within hours. This time I let it bleed. By the 5th day it was a steady leak. The cabinet below warped from the moisture. A mildew smell crept into the kitchen. Next came the printer. Megan had a quarterly report due. She went to print it the night before. The screen blinked. No paper. Check tray. She cursed. Shook the printer. Slammed the tray shut. But nothing came out. I had always kept a stack of paper under the desk. She never asked where it came from. It was just always there. Now it wasn't. Then came her car. Megan's Ford had been due for a tune-up 2 months ago. I had reminded her twice. Booked it myself last time. Took it in on my day off. Paid the invoice. Brought it back with a full tank and clean dash. She never thanked me. Just asked if I remembered to reset the Bluetooth. This time I let it ride. 2 weeks into the silent freeze, the check engine light came on. 3 days later, it wouldn't start. She texted me from work. Can you check the car? It won't turn over. I didn't reply. That evening, she came home through the front door, her shoulders tight. "What's going on?" she asked. "Why didn't you answer?" I looked up from the couch. "Guests don't do car maintenance." Her face flushed. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Cal wasn't doing much better. His insurance renewal came and went. I used to handle it, bundle it with mine for the discount. This time I let it expire. 2 weeks later he got pulled over. No proof of insurance. Got fined. Came home furious. "Why didn't you say anything?" he barked. "I'm just a guest," I said. "Guests don't manage your vehicle coverage." He stormed out. By week 3, Megan started to crack. The joint account had slipped into overdraft. I saw the alerts, overdraft fee, then another. DoorDash, Target, Amazon, all hitting her half now. I had stopped contributing, and she hadn't adjusted. She thought I'd cave. Thought it was a tantrum. But it wasn't. It was a transition. She confronted me on a Thursday morning, standing in the kitchen in her work blouse, holding her phone like a sword. "Why didn't you warn me we were in overdraft?" I looked up from my coffee. "I used to warn you. I used to fill the gap before you noticed. I'm not doing that anymore." She stared at me like I was a stranger. "I don't understand," she said. "You don't have to," I replied. "You just have to manage your half, like adults do." That was the first time I saw it, the flicker of fear behind her eyes, the realization that the safety net was gone, that her fallback had left the room and wasn't coming back. Still, she played it cool. Still told herself it was temporary. But I could see the mask slipping. She started trying to be polite again, making small talk, asking if I needed anything at the store, offering to make dinner. I didn't respond. Not with cruelty, just with neutrality. The way you respond to a barista asking about your day. Cal was worse. His grades were slipping. He missed 2 assignments. Said his laptop kept freezing. Used to be I would have ordered him a new one. Picked it out myself. Installed the software. Set up his school logins. Now I just nodded. "That sucks," I said. "You should talk to your dad." He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "My dad doesn't help with stuff like this," he said. "Neither do guests," I replied. And I walked away. At night I'd sit in the garage alone. The same garage Kyle said wasn't mine. I'd lean against the workbench I built by hand, drink a beer, listen to the silence growing behind the walls. They didn't understand yet. Not fully. But they were beginning to feel it. The weight of everything I had carried, and the cold that settles in when a man decides to stop being invisible. The fridge wasn't restocked. The yard wasn't mowed. The air filters turned yellow. The faucet still dripped. The smoke alarm beeped for days, low battery, until Kyle finally yanked it off the wall and left it in a drawer. One night, I came home to Megan at the kitchen table, calculator in hand, bank statement beside her. Her eyes were rimmed red. She looked up as I walked in. Not angry, not defensive, just lost. "Things are falling apart," she said. I nodded. She stared at the numbers, her voice small. "How did you manage all this?" I didn't answer, just set my keys down and walked past her. In the bathroom, the hand towel was still wet from Kyle's shower. The light bulb above the mirror had flickered out. I left it that way, because this wasn't neglect. This was education. I wanted them to live in the house I lived in, to see what I saw, to feel what I had carried day after day, year after year, while being told I didn't belong. To learn what it meant when the man they called a guest finally took off his gloves. 3 weeks. That's how long it took. 3 weeks of silence. 3 weeks of watching a household unravel thread by thread. 3 weeks of doing nothing, deliberately, precisely, patiently. That's the thing they never understood. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to slam doors or throw things or leave dramatic notes on the counter. All I had to do was disappear. Financially, emotionally, logistically. My presence had been the gravity holding everything together. Remove the gravity, and eventually, everything floats into chaos. It began to show in Kyle first. He missed a second class, then a third. The garage still wouldn't open. He asked Megan to park on the street so he could use her key, but she left too early for work. So he started walking. Said it was no big deal. But he came home wet when it rained and red-faced when it didn't. Then his phone plan flagged a warning. Overdue. I'd stopped covering that too. The family plan? Gone. He was just another adult now. He'd need to get his own. He cornered me on a Tuesday afternoon. I was outside on the porch, reading. Megan wasn't home. He stood over me, hands clenched, jaw tight. But there was something beneath the posture. Not rage. Not confidence. Confusion. You really cut us off, he said. I turned a page. Yes. Actually cut us off. I looked up at him slowly. There's no invisible support staff here anymore. Kyle. No more lifeline. You told me I'm just a guest. So now you're living in a house without the man who held it together. He said nothing. He just stared at me like he was still doing the math. Still struggling to connect the dots between the faucet that wouldn't stop leaking and the person who used to fix it without being asked. He didn't apologize. He walked back inside. Quietly. That night, Megan waited for me at the kitchen table. It was the first time in years I saw her without a screen in front of her. No phone, no laptop, no TV humming in the background. Just her, a notebook and a pen. She looked up when I walked in. Sit down, she said. I did. She opened the notebook. A list. Not unlike the one I'd made weeks earlier. Numbers. Expenses. Dates. Repairs. Everything's falling apart, she said. You've checked out. I didn't respond. She went on. The bills are overdue. The house is slipping. Kyle's struggling. I looked at her. Waited. You're not helping, she said finally. And you used to. You used to be the one who kept all this from breaking. There it was. I leaned forward, hands folded. 3 weeks ago, your son told me I was just a guest in this house. You said nothing, and so I stopped playing the role of rescuer. I stopped being the uncredited labor holding your life together. Her voice wavered. I didn't realize how much you did. I nodded. Now you do. She looked down at her list. Why didn't you say anything sooner? She asked. I did, I said. Every day. In what I fixed. In what I paid for. In what I showed up to do. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I thought you wanted to do those things. I did, I said, until I realized they weren't seen, that they were expected, that I had become a service, not a man. Her eyes welled, but I didn't move. I let the silence stretch, let her sit in the consequences she used to ignore. That weekend, Kyle tried again. His tone had shifted. Less edge, more need. Do you have the garage code? He asked. I looked at him. No. You changed it. I did. He shifted his weight. Can you give it to me? No. Why not? Because I'm not the one who uses it anymore. He opened his mouth to argue, but I stopped him. Kyle, I spent 5 years building a life that worked for you. I kept the wheels turning. I paid bills before you knew they existed. I took care of things so you wouldn't have to. He looked away. I never asked you to, he muttered. I nodded. You didn't. And now you don't have to worry about me doing it again. He walked away, slowly this time. By Monday, Megan's car was in the shop, finally. But it had gone too long without maintenance. The repair bill was double what it should have been. She texted me a photo of the invoice. No caption. Just numbers. An image. A passive plea. I didn't respond. That night, the smoke alarm chirped again. Still low battery. Still ignored. I waited. At 2 a.m. Kyle finally got up and yanked it from the ceiling again. I heard him mutter as he passed my door. This house is falling apart. Yes, I thought. It is. Because the man who held it up was pushed out. Told he didn't belong. Told he was a visitor in the structure he built. On Wednesday, the final straw landed. Kyle came home from school, slammed the door, and shouted across the house. Why the hell didn't anyone pay the school fee? I didn't answer. Megan appeared in the hallway. What fee? Kyle held up his phone. They fined me for late enrollment. Something about insurance not being verified. I'm blocked from signing up for second semester until it's resolved. Megan looked at me, her eyes searching. I said nothing. Kyle stormed into the kitchen, pacing. Do you even care? This affects my whole year. My transcript. My graduation schedule. I stood slowly, walked to the fridge, poured water, took a sip. I used to care, I said, when I thought I was building something that mattered. Kyle narrowed his eyes. So now what? You just stop helping? I shrugged. I stopped carrying people who said I don't belong. Megan stepped between us. Nathan. I held up a hand. You both made it clear. I'm not a parent, not a partner. I'm just a man who used to keep the lights on. That job is over. Kyle laughed bitterly. You're doing this out of pride. No, I said calmly. I'm doing this because I finally understood that love without respect is slavery. And I've been enslaved by this family's expectations long enough. He didn't reply. Neither did Megan. The next day, the fridge started humming louder than usual. I didn't mention it. 2 days later, it stopped cooling. I watched them open it again and again, hoping it would start again on its own. Didn't. They ordered takeout that night. I grilled a steak for one. Alone. Outside. The stars looked clearer than they had in months. It's been 5 weeks since Kyle called me a guest. 3 since Megan realized the bills were stacking up faster than she could shuffle them. And 1 since I packed my bags, walked out the front door, and didn't leave a forwarding address. No note, no voicemail, no dramatic farewell, just absence. A clean exit from a house I built with hands they never saw. I left behind the routines, the burdens, the unspoken roles that clung to me like dust, the repairs no one else remembered to schedule, the groceries that restocked themselves, the bills that got paid before panic could set in. I left it all. But more than that, I left the space they created for me, that quiet corner labeled visitor, and I let them sit in it alone. It started on a Sunday. I woke up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with a single suitcase beside me. Megan walked in, still half asleep, hair pulled back, confusion already forming in her eyes. You going somewhere? She asked. I nodded, sipped my coffee, said nothing. She blinked. For how long? I didn't answer. That was when she saw it. The packed charger, the folded flannel, the insurance file tucked beside my laptop. Panic bloomed behind her eyes. Nathan. What are you doing? I stood. For once, I said, I'm doing something for myself. Kyle came down the stairs minutes later, phone in hand, earbuds in. Saw the bag. Didn't ask. That was the final confirmation. Not the insult, not the silence, but the indifference. They didn't ask me to stay. Not really. Megan trailed me out to the porch, her voice low, almost pleading. You're abandoning us. No, I said, locking the door behind me. I'm giving you what you wanted. We never asked you to leave. You didn't have to. I got into the car and drove without music. No destination, just movement. Somewhere with clean air, no chores, and nothing that needed fixing. I rented a 1-bedroom apartment in a smaller town an hour away. Unfurnished, quiet, the kind of place where the fridge hums softly and no one yells from down the hall. I bought only what I needed. A chair, a bed, a single plate, a skillet, a bottle of bourbon, and silence. Took them 3 days to reach out. Megan texted first. The thermostat's acting up. Do you know what we should? I didn't respond. The next day, I think something's wrong with the water heater. Silence. By the end of the week, Kyle called. I watched the screen light up with his name. Didn't answer. The next message came at 2 a.m. Are you seriously not coming back? No punctuation. No apology. Just confusion masquerading as anger. I turned the phone off. Let them learn. Let the pipes leak, the fridge rattle, the lawn grow wild. Let the full weight of maintenance fall on the shoulders that had never once noticed how light I kept things. This was the price of invisible labor. This was what happened when you mistake sacrifice for obligation. I'd left 1,000 acts of love behind, each one ignored, absorbed, expected. Now, in my absence, Every forgotten kindness echoed louder than words ever could. And still, they didn't say it. Still, no one said, "You mattered." They only said, "Come fix it." I watched the emails pile up. Overdue notices, missed payments, a desperate follow-up from the landlord, confused why Megan had stopped answering his calls. The gravity I once provided was gone. Now the house drifted, slowly, silently, into entropy. 2 weeks in, Megan called. I answered this one. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. "I didn't know," she said. "I didn't realize." I waited. "Everything's breaking," she said. "I don't know how to manage this stuff." I stayed quiet. "I thought you'd always be there," she whispered. "That's the problem," I said. "You thought I was permanent." Silence stretched. "Is this forever?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "But for now, I need to be somewhere I'm seen." She started to cry. "I was tired," she said. "It all felt normal." "I know," I said. "That's why it was killing me." I hung up. The next message came from Kyle. No insults this time. No bravado. Just 5 words. "Can we talk in person?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Didn't reply. Because the truth is, it was never about words. It was about presence. Respect. The daily, silent acts of devotion that made their lives possible. That made their contempt feel safe. They had mocked the foundation until the floor cracked beneath them. And now they were learning. You don't spit on the hands that keep your world upright. You don't call a man a guest in the house he paid for. You don't tell the one who stayed that he's replaceable, and then panic when he finally takes you at your word. Because a guest can leave. And once he's gone, he doesn't owe you his return. I live alone now, peacefully. I wash 1 dish, fold 1 towel, brew 1 cup of coffee. No one leaves their laundry out. No one calls my name unless they mean it. I go to work. I come home. I sleep without noise. And for the first time in years, I feel light. Not happy, not healed, but honest. I was never their father. They reminded me of that every chance they got. But I was something else. I was the floor beneath their feet. The light that stayed on when they forgot to flip the switch. The net that caught them silently every time they stumbled. And now I ask myself every night before bed, why go back to a place where your love is only noticed in your absence? Why fight for a seat at a table where no one made space for you? Why carry the weight of a family that hands you their burden but not their name? Maybe being the guest was the gift. Because a guest can pack his things, walk out the door, and never turn back. A guest doesn't owe. A guest doesn't stay. A guest leaves when the house forgets who built it. And sometimes, that's the only way they remember. So tell me, was I wrong to vanish? Or did I finally learn what they never did? That love, unreturned, is just another form of labor? And I was done working for free.